In this exclusive video, I will share exactly what I learned from over 6 months of bench press and pull-up specialization. So I hope you take something from my experiences, and with that said, let's get started. In regards to bodybuilding and the bench press, I've really confirmed the fact that torso dominance is a very real thing. What I can tell you is that my pecs and shoulders got significantly bigger. They definitely hypertrophy. There's definitely some increased thickness, and I'm really grateful for that. However, my triceps, barely improvement at all. In fact, I'm going to say they look exactly the same from a size perspective, despite the fact that I got way stronger at the compound movements. 350 close grip bench with a pause, 365 regular bench, and 375 dead bench. I'm extremely grateful and proud of these numbers, and I'm happy that I made chest and shoulder gains, but I'm very disappointed in the fact that my arms barely improved. And I think this is not necessarily the bench press specialization, but more so how you go about doing it. In particular, I wasn't going as crazy on the extensions and the volume work for the triceps. Last year is when I was making the best tricep gains possible, and I think that that style of training is far superior on all levels. So what I can tell you is that if you have bad arm genetics or your torso dominant like your boy, high volume push downs, high volume extensions, and doing a lot of band and chain stuff, and even board presses is beneficial. I have a friend that I was training with last year. He was pretty much doing the same style as me, and even though his raw bench increased way less than mine, his triceps got so much thicker. So I'm going to say that is probably the way to go if you're a natural trying to get massive arms, okay? Last year, my arms were a little bit under 17. Now, granted, I was bear mode. I was 186 pounds, so it was definitely some fat accumulation. But even besides that, I can tell you that the triceps in particular were growing at a more rapid rate. And I think that they actually would have surpassed 17 had I continued going that route. At the time, I was barely able to fit into my slingshot. And I was actually going to buy a new one because it was way too tight. And even my elbow sleeves, see, these are XL, okay? Nowadays, I have no problem sliding them all. But back then, bro, I could not do it by myself. I had to have a friend pull them up, or I had to go on the hyperextension machine, and where those little pin things are sticking out, I had to like force myself down into it. These were a bitch to get on, but now they're significantly easier to do it because my arms are not as big as they used to. Now, I don't think it's only fat. I think it's the fact that I wasn't doing as much direct tricep work in the form of extensions and high volume pushdown. So now that I know this information, I'm definitely gonna be upping the volume on my extensions, more straight weight for that, and way more pushdowns. I gotta get back into the 300 pushdowns a day type thing. And I mean within the workout itself, not every single day. So that's a very key point right there. The second lesson is that I should have been dead benching a long time ago. I did it occasionally here and there, but it was never a staple of my training. I can tell you that that was a mistake because this variation is absolutely phenomenal. The carryover is great, the strength gains are great, and the size gains are phenomenal as well for the pecs and the shoulders. It's just an ultimate badass lift, and I cannot recommend it enough. And you can do multiple different variations: close grip, regular grip, at the chest, slightly above the chest. You can even do it with bands. The dead bench has become one of my staples, and I highly recommend you do the same. You can check out my full video where I discuss all the benefits. At the same time, I found pause benching to feel amazing on the body. I like the fact that you can control the weight. I like the fact that you're not really bouncing. You have the same repetitions every single time, so you know that there was no cheating in a sense, even though touch and go was not cheating. That's besides the point. I learned that pause benching just feels right. It feels tight, and I find that it feels safer, and I get better recovery doing so. And even though you lift less compared to a touch and go, I like the fact that you can stay more stable and it's more consistent. So I actually prefer it now. Back in the day, I used to prefer touch and go, but now I prefer pause, which is weird. Now, granted, you don't have to pause. I experimented with it. I even competed, so you have to pause in the competition. So I did do it and I actually really liked the experience. So the third thing, which is crucial, is the fact that recovery becomes way more important when you're hitting these types of numbers, okay? Pretty much, if you're doing a raw bench on a given workout day, especially your intensity workout, you're always going to be doing over 315, guaranteed. 315 is no longer a big deal, which means that you're always going over it in every single intensity day. No matter if you're doing the close grip or even reverse grip bench or pause or touch and go, doesn't matter what style you're using. If it's raw, you're always going over 3 plates, and that definitely has a toll on recovery, and you have to make sure that your form is even more crisp than ever before. And you can't be ego lifting like this. If you start ego lifting, you're going to get more aches and pains, and the strength gains slow down. At the same time, it teaches you to be way more meticulous, because I can tell you that progress slows down so much when you're at this stage, okay? I didn't realize it, but it really, it just goes down, down, down. Like, obviously, you're still getting stronger, okay? Gains are always being made. You're not plateauing in a sense, but the natural journey is a slow one. So you have to be extremely patient and intelligent with your programming. If you overdo it with certain parameters, if you try to ego lift, you feel the aches and pains, okay? And at the same time, It's forced me to take my mobility training way more seriously. Rear delts very seriously as well. I'm always doing band face pulls. I do a lot of band pull aparts, stuff like that. And I even do the Donnie Thompson shoulder protocol method, okay? And I even bought a freaking fat pad just to preserve my shoulders because I was extremely worried that I was going to get snapped up from that narrow bench that I was using before, okay? So when you have super wide lats, man, and you got that scapula overhang, it's not the best for your shoulder. So the fat pad was a major game changer, and I'm so happy that I got one, okay? At the same time, I've had to use training equipment. I found this to be extremely beneficial. So elbow sleeves, wrist wraps, slingshot, these things are important to me, okay? The elbow sleeves, I find that it gives me greater pressing recovery. I can just go harder when I use them, and it doesn't beat me up as much. So I don't care if I'm a young man. I'm going to train like an older guy. I don't care. I'm going to do it because it preserves your longevity, okay? And because of my elbows, I have to be a little bit more cautious. Wrist wraps, such a beneficial thing. I use them every single workout without exception. I'm not going to be one of these raw guys. It doesn't matter to me. When I competed, I did the entire process with elbow sleeves and wrist wraps. The last week, I took them off. That's it. Only the last week. Actually, I left the wrist wraps on, but I took off the sleeves. And I made all kinds of gains. The carryover was 100%. And I realized that the sleeves barely had anything in the first place. So I was getting all these amazing recovery benefits. I was able to go harder during my workouts while having all the carryover benefits. So to me, it's amazing. And I definitely think you should use it. Don't be this macho guy that has to be like 100% raw. Same thing with the belt. Benching with a belt allows you to get way more tight. Even enhances lower back recovery. It's just an amazing thing. So I love that. And the final lesson I learned is that competing is fun. Never thought I was going to do it, but I guess I'm a bench press specialist if you want to use that terminology. I got 2 records to my name. And I enjoyed working up to the meet, especially like a month out. You have to be really precise with your programming, and you have to eat the proper amounts, sleep the proper amounts. Then you got to show up at the meet, you weigh yourself, you get a little bit of food in, you got that vibe going on, you got the crazy music, you got the crowd, you're doing your attempts, you're stressing, am I going to get the next one? Like, it's an unbelievable experience. It really is. And I'm grateful to have been on the platform. And maybe in the future I'll do some more of it, but I can tell you that it's very fun. And if you're already super strong and you're going to be peaking for a bench press anyway, I mean, you might as well go compete. Doesn't hurt you, but I liked it. Surprisingly, I very much enjoyed it. So competing was a good thing. So that's about all I got to say in regards to bench press. Now I want to discuss pull-ups. So going back to bodybuilding, I realized that they are absolutely amazing for building up your back. Out of all my muscle groups, my back maintained the most during this cut. I don't think I lost any muscle in regards to the lats. And my upper back is pretty much on point as well. The only thing that did slim down is my upper traps and my neck, okay? And I think that's because I got way lazier on the neck training and I wasn't doing the heavy pulls, okay? Specifically the rack pulls, the block pulls, all that stuff. Nor was I doing any shrugs or chi rows. So my yoke formula remains 100%, okay? Pull-up training is not optimal and never will be optimal if you're trying to look as big as possible. And I've had a lot of people say that, hey, Alex, you look smaller. That's also due to the haircut, okay? I was right about that as well. When you're bald, you look bigger. So you want to have shorter hair, bigger neck, bigger traps, and the best way to do that is with heavy pulls, chi rows, shrugs, direct neck work, okay? So pull-ups are great for building up your back as a whole, but it's not the best for the best of yoke gains. But besides that, I'm extremely happy with my development. My lats look great. My back thickness is still on point. Still look good in the shirt when I turn around. I look good when I do my posing, back double bi, lat spread, all that stuff. And I'm just super impressed with this exercise. The fact that I got to use all these variations and build up my back. And like, it's amazing how simple it's been, yet I made so many freaking gains. Oh, but one thing though is that my lower back definitely got weaker and the spinal rectors, pull-ups are not optimal for that. But if you're already doing a maximized program, I don't see this being an issue in the first place. So pull-ups are freaking amazing for bodybuilding purposes, and I highly recommend them. Whether doing volume or intensity, they're just phenomenal. The second lesson, which is an extremely surprising one, probably the most shocking thing I've learned all year, is that they actually do have carryover to pulls, which means that I was wrong. Back in the day, I thought that pull-ups had no carryover whatsoever because it's a movement pattern and it's not the most specific thing. And I gave you examples of gymnasts who that when they do deadlifts, they're not the best. But the thing is, if you've already been a strong puller in the past, or you're currently already doing a lot of pulls, the weight of pull-ups can actually be beneficial. So guys like Caleb Willem were right. Pull-ups actually do have carryover to heavy pulls. And I figured this out this week. You see, guys, the last time I did a seriously heavy pull was well over 6 months ago. And that was when I trained with Omar Isov. So it was the Jefferson block pull, okay? And before that, when I was towards the end of my cut, I had done a 545 Jefferson off pin 1. And then I rebuilt it to 565. And then I actually did a 605 hack from pin 1, okay? So that's where I was at when I decided to rebuild my pulls a little bit, okay? But then I just took a huge break and I went full-on pull-up mode in addition to pistols and lunges. Now this week, I decided to try out a Jefferson rack pull from pin 1 which is when the weights are elevated 1.5 inches above the ground. And guess what? I hit an all-time PR for this body weight. I did 595 pounds at 165 body weight, which absolutely shocked me because I haven't been doing any pulls whatsoever, yet the carryover was there, which is like mind-boggling. It essentially means that the pull-ups maintain my back strength. I suppose it makes sense, right? My pull-ups got so much stronger during this time frame. I did 165 at 165. Serious stuff. I was doing them every single week. Heavy volume, like I got way stronger. I was doing front levers. That probably helped with the core strength as well. And I did all these advanced moves on the bar, and it seemed to have carried over. It maintained my back strength, if not improved it. And as far as the pistol squats and lunges, it gave me that specific carryover to Jefferson's. So I still have that leg strength, man. It's insane. It's freaking insane. So it looks like I was wrong. I thought that rows were the only way to go for carryover. But now I know that pull-ups are definitely good as well. And if I decide to start doing more heavy pulls, which I probably will, I'm definitely going to include weighted pull-ups into the equation, not just the rows. So I would add that to my formula of getting a stronger pull. So I'm completely blown away and very, very, very impressed with the pull-up exercise, as well as the pistol squats and the lunges. Because when you go heavy on those, when you match percentage, when you do progressive overload, of course, you're going to get strong. That's probably the biggest shock that I've learned all year. Pull-ups actually have carryover to pulls. And for some of you elite guys, maybe that was obvious, but for me, it wasn't. Because back in the day, I wasn't seeing that correlation, okay? But now I know the truth, so it actually does work, and I'm really freaking surprised. Then the final lesson, which again goes back to this torso dominant thing, is that pull-ups, chin-ups, and all the variations are not optimal for biceps, and they never will be. If you have bad arm genetics, or you're torso dominant like your boy, the thing that I found worked best in regards to the pull-ups was the one-arm stuff. And I think that's because it changes the movement quite a bit, okay? So I got my best gains when I was doing a lot of one-arm chins. But just regular weighted chin-ups, regular weighted pull-ups, biceps barely improve, man. I found that strict curls are significantly better on all levels. So if you want the biggest arms possible, isolate them, and do a lot of volume and induce progressive overload on the curls. Like a strict curl, okay, with a barbell against the wall, like legit. Way better than any weighted chin-up. It's the truth if you have torso dominance, okay? Or you don't have the best genetics. Because if weighted pull-ups and chin-ups and all this stuff really was the best, my biceps would have significantly improved. But that's not the case. It really isn't. I can tell you that I get much better gains from just doing a lot of curls. Way better. In fact, I can drop all pull-ups completely. And if I only did curls like a gym bro, my arms would probably get better development. So I don't think that this exercise is optimal whatsoever. And I don't even think that's the greatest thing for carryover either. I bet I'm not the best strict curler. I bet I wouldn't place that well in the competition. So when you have torso dominance, your back takes over. Even if you're doing a chin-up, your back takes over. Just the way it is. So for anyone who is struggling with this problem, do a lot of curls, do a lot of volume. Stop listening to these minimalist fucktards who say that just doing chin-ups is enough for your arms. It absolutely is not. And it never will be. Even if you have good arm genetics, they'll still get bigger if you do a lot of curls and stuff like that. So isolation work is very, very, very important. And never get lazy on it. Never get lazy on your curls. Always do them. Always induce volume. Always induce progressive overload. And use a variety of different curls if you want to as well. But the strict curl is a good one. Preacher curl, incline dumbbell curl. There's a lot of variations. And you can check out Jeff Nippert's videos on this if you want some amazing bicep content. But that's the main lesson. Curls are way better. So with that said, those are some of the lessons I learned in 2018 doing bench and pull-ups. It's been an interesting ride so far, man. And I hope that you learned something from this knowledge and wisdom. I hope you apply some of the lessons I talked about today. And with that said, I'll talk to you all next time.